Well, the First Minister of Scotland, Humza Yousaf, has been speaking in the last few moments. Let's take a listen to what he had to say.
Bad result.
Of course it was. A disappointing night, a tough night for the SNP, very difficult, of course. There's no doubt a number of factors that played into that. We were told time and time on the doorstep that Margaret Ferrier's reckless actions were counting against us. Of course, the police investigation undoubtedly had an impact as well. But look, the SNP has to reflect. We've got to regroup, we've got to reorganise. We've had tough adversities, tough election results in the past. We've bounced back stronger. I'm very, very keen to make sure that we're fighting for the next electoral test.
How much responsibility do you take as SNP leader, as First Minister, for this result?
Of course, I'm the leader of the SNP. The buck does absolutely stop with me, but I think everybody knows that this particular by-election has some very difficult contextual factors around it. Margaret Ferrier's reckless actions, of course, came up time and time again. And the police investigation, of course, that's engulfed the party over the last few months, again came up on a number of doorsteps. So there's a number of difficult issues around this by-election that made it a very difficult night for us indeed.
The buck stops with you, but you just blame Margaret Ferrier on your party.
No, as I said, it's my job to make sure the party reflects, that we reorganise, we regroup, make sure we have a really crisp and well understood message to take to the voters, because I can't get away from the fact that our voters did not come out. A very low turnout, of course, right across the board, but our voters did not come out. So I've got to make sure I'm inspiring them, inspiring the public to come out. But there's no doubt, I think any objective media commentator would say that there are very, very difficult contextual factors in this by-election for the SNP.
But in this by-election, you've just effectively admitted that you failed to inspire the voters to turn out to vote SNP.
Look, the SNP, we didn't do enough. We know that there was contextual factors. Margaret Ferrier's reckless actions, the police investigation, of course. But we've got to reflect, I've got to reflect, the party has to ensure we've got a good campaign machine behind us, but also that we're inspiring people with a message. We clearly got a message from the voters of Rutherglen and Hamilton West that the SNP has lost some trust in that seat. We've got to make sure we regain it.
And you too?
Of course, me and the party, we can't be disassociated. I'm the leader of the SNP. The SNP had a tough night. I've had a tough night. But we've had adversity before. We've lost by-elections before. We've bounced back, we've come back stronger, and I've got every faith we can do that, and I can lead the party in order in that fight.
Is it hard to talk to voters about what you say is a constitutional crisis in the midst of a cost of living crisis?
I think that's where our message absolutely has to be crisper and clearer. We have to say unequivocally that this is a Westminster cost of living crisis, and that, look, things can get much better. They don't have to be this way, but the alternative is, of course, independence. And we can get bogged down over process. The party can be guilty, absolutely, of that. We actually have to talk about what independence means to people in their everyday lives.
But we talk about the constitutional crisis, cost of living crisis. Are you now facing a leadership crisis?
No, I don't think so. And certainly I don't believe that to be the case at all. People know that Rutherglen was going to be a very tough by-election for us, given Margaret Ferrier's actions, given the contextual factors that are out with my control, such as the police investigation. I've got a job to do, elected by our members 6 months ago, to make sure that the party is in a fit fighting campaign machine, that we have a really clear message to take to the voters right across Scotland. I'm committed to.
Well, you're on the front page of Time magazine. A lot of people in your party think time might already be running out for you.
Look, again, I believe I've got full support of the SNP, of our members. Of course, we'll be at conference. My job is to make sure that the party reflects. We will do that we regroup and we reorganise. We've had adversity in the past, even in recent times. People have written us off then. They can write us off now. We may be down. We're certainly not out.
So you're tearing up your conference speech tonight and starting again?
Look, as you know, because you've followed conferences over the years, you're writing those speeches almost to the point that you get to the stage. But I think it's really important that we remind people of the excellent track record of delivery that we have got as the SNP within the Scottish Government, and also what's the bold alternative to a failed Westminster model that's making people suffer here in this country.
One thing that must worry you about that result last night is the scale of it, because that victory for Labour, broadly similar to their percentage vote in 2010 in the general election, in that election you only got 6 MPs.
And you know what? 2 years before that, we won Glasgow East with about a swing of 20%, and then we lost.
And then lost it at the general election.
Exactly. So the fact that people can get a swing doesn't mean that that's going to in a by-election doesn't mean that's going to extrapolate into a general election, particularly when turnout is at 37%. So look, Labour may well, and I don't begrudge them celebrating the result, but they may well be saying, well, that's us on course to win the general election. We're not going to be complacent. We have certainly no desire to be complacent. We won't be complacent. We can't afford to be complacent. We'll make sure we work our socks off. hone the message, have a good campaign machine within the SNP, and take the fight to Labour.
Got another couple of questions to ask you for the BBC about the police thing. Police Scotland plans to cut 200 recruits in January. Is that your fault?
No, we funded, of course, Police Scotland fairly, an additional £80 million this year, and that's a 6.3% increase in their finances for Police Scotland to manage their budget. It's worth saying, of course, that since we took office in 2007, there's now more police officers, more bobbies in the beat, more per head in Scotland than other parts of the UK, and of course, crime continues to be at one of its lowest levels on record.
Police Scotland say you're not funding them enough, though.
We'll always have discussions about with Police Scotland around the next financial settlement. I've just said to you that we've funded them with an additional £80 million this year. That's a 6.3% increase. And of course, our police officers remain better paid than police officers in every rank in England or indeed in Wales.